the Amish
litigation with the Amish defendants to explore compromise agreements in the future.
Second
by Vernon. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. We're on to Phil.
No, bridge aid. We have two. Town of Franklin for $1.53.
Are you gonna hand deliver that one?
Welcome to the DOT. And then we have one for the town of Coon for $1,664.90.
Motion to approve the bridge aid. Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the bridge aid. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Okay. So we opened culvert bids. Got three. Metal Culverts Incorporated, Contact Engineered Solutions, and Capital City Culvert. We reviewed them. Metal Culverts is who we are using now, and they beat everybody substantially this year. Just for an example, 12-inch culvert. Metal Culverts is $12.64 a foot. Contact was $15.80 a foot. Capital City was $20 a foot. My recommendation is that you would accept Metal Culverts bid.
I'll make that motion. That's culvert bid. I'll second.
All in favor of accepting Metal Culverts bid, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Okay. We had two bids for our new truck. This is a tandem axle. That would be for 2026. We had Kenworth bid and Navistar bid. Kenworth's bid came in at $152,772. Option for a 6-year warranty of $4,559. The Bush's bid for an international came in at $156,540 with an option for a longer warranty for $5,600, 80 month. The trouble is that Kenworth did not meet the spec. The truck that would meet the spec has been discontinued, so they would have to build a lighter version of the trucks we now order. The warranty didn't meet spec. The front axle didn't meet spec. The horsepower rating didn't meet spec. The tire size didn't meet spec. So basically you'd be building a light duty plow truck. We had been going the other direction in that, building heavy duty trucks, being as we're expecting 20 to 25 year lifespan out of these. We have had troubles with the 385 front tires and rims. That's a 12-inch rim. The 425s are a 13-inch rim, heavier rim. We have had trouble with, per se, that's why we went heavier with the front rims cracking, which isn't something you want to do on a steer axle. So that being said, I recommend that we take the Bushes, since Kenworth does not meet the spec for the truck we put up there.
So basically, we've only really got one bid.
Basically, we got one bid. Mack quit bidding because they don't build the heavy duty spec like we're requesting. Peterbilt did not contact us. Western Star did not contact us. I don't know why. We're kind of in a no man's land for Western Star. They've got a southern division that goes up to Crawford, and they have a northern one that'll come down as far as Trempealeau. La Crosse and myself, Juneau, we're kind of in a no man's land. We can't really get a salesman to come. We had one time the salesman came and did a bid, and Navistar at that time beat him then. So I don't know if they figured it's no sense coming back. We got beat once. So.
Motion to approve the Bush bid. Is that correct? Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the DeBusch bid. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Asphalt bids.
Asphalt. Two bidders. Matthew Construction and Scott Construction. To simplify for the project we have scheduled this year, based on whatever option of oil we want to use, either the S oil or the H oil. This particular project, with the traffic volume and the type of traffic, I'm fine with the S oil, which is a softer oil. But we don't have a lot of heavy trucks out there. It would save a few dollars. Or the 5834S oil, Matthew Construction's bid was $649,000 and $15, $649.15. Scott's Construction bid of the 34S was $704,125. Basically, that works out. Matthew's bid was $82.35 a ton. Scott's bid was $88.55 a ton. There again, I would recommend Matthew.
Motion to accept Matthew's bid.
Motion by Charlie,
Second.
second by Paul to accept Matthew's bid. All in favor, aye. Aye. Same sign. Motion passes.
Unless we aren't doing any major road projects this year as far as new construction. So we did bids for gravel for a shoulder project we have planned throughout the county. And so we bid approximately 5,000 tons of 3/4 inch rock, picked up at various locations countywide to do the shoulder project, reclamation project. Bindlebauer, it has a quarry, it's called the Clark Quarry over by Hillsboro. Their price bid picked up was $7.89 a ton. Yahara has a quarry, the Gudgeon Quarry, located just south or east of the shop out there. Their price was $7.85 a ton. Milestone quarries, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 quarries throughout the county. Their bid was $7.65 a ton. Recommend Milestone, if you're asking my opinion. Say just a multiple, the hauling cost. I mean, they're low bid, obviously, but the hauling cost, if we went with somebody else, it would be advantageous for us to haul out of their quarries, save the haul time and fuel.
And they've got some close enough to like Bindle and the other ones that it wouldn't pay to.
Yeah, no, and that's, like I say, price wise, they have quarries, basically the one quarry's across the road from Bindle's quarry.
Okay.
The other quarry is, location, it's on the far east side, the quarry there for the Hillsboro end. So, I mean, it wouldn't justify taking a high bid because of the hauling. The multiple locations of the quarries, and they're all commercial pits, so they will furnish the loaders, in all but 3 of the quarries.
Okay, well, I guess I could make the motion for Milestone.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion passes. Opposed? There's nobody here to oppose.
Okay, this is just for discussion. I don't know if any of you have heard the ARIP program, it's called, Agricultural Road Improvement Program. If any of you went to the Town Association meeting a week or 2 ago, I'm sure they discussed it there. I took the online version. I'm not saying it's a federal program, subsidized. I'm not saying it's a good program, but the catch is that if you receive funds, and right now it's at 80-20, for a agricultural road improvement, part of the process is you need to go out and solicit business owners on that road to give them some of the information is borderline, like financial information, to prove that you do, $100,000 worth of work and what the implications of that road being posted causes your business. one of the catches on this program is if you do it and you use the subsidizing from ARIP, that road cannot be posted in the future. So, which is fine. But that means you have to build that road to basically a state highway spec, which will require a lot of gravel. And I mean, obviously that's all part of it. But when you raise the road that much, anywhere from 12 to 18 inches, that's going to kick in where you're going to have to do an environmental study on that road through the DNR, Corps of Engineers, that sort of thing. And if you raise the road that high, take of any of the roads you drove in on today, if you raise it 18 inches, your slopes really change. So there would be right-of-way acquisition that would be required in these projects, ditching, culverts, all the above. There's a lot of money out there, but a single road project, and I use County O as a perfect example with all the heavy hauling out there. I mean, you're looking at a $6 to $8 million project. That's if you get all the people that live on that road to give the documentation they need to get selected for this project. And then if you get everybody to sign off and give us TLEs on the right of way, I mean, great job for us, but it would be a sizable project. So I think in the future, they probably will have issues in this area because if I open up County O, I don't post it. That's great, but you know how many sawmills and how many businesses are off County O. So they're going to see the sign that O is open, but so they're going to come in with their fully loaded semi, which is okay, but then they're going to take a right on Pass Lane or whatever. So now I'm putting whatever township or whatever other county road there at risk because I just let a 96,000 pound log truck come in during spring breakup. So, I mean, it's just for discussion. And I'm not saying they won't change rules. They have a tendency to do. But I just want to put that out there. So to give thoughts, if they have the first round of applications that's due in March, obviously we're not going to get that one done. But this would be one of those projects. If we want to do a fall solicitation, we're going to have the documentation. So it'd be just like the SS project, the County O project. I can do all the numbers, but we're going to need a potential price and assistance on the environmental, all that sort of thing. If there's any big structures, they'll have to be hydraulically sized. So there'd be money up front. Everybody is trying to tag on this, on this program. I don't see a lot of it happening around here. Maybe not. But so just give you a heads up on that and thoughts on if you want me to proceed with an application.
This was actually a program they set at the Towns Association that was designed to help the townships, or the towns. We don't have townships in Wisconsin, we have towns. Mm-hmm. But when we got down into the brass tacks, like you said, we were like, oh man, enterprise would be a good one for that. Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't even really qualify because O and K have weight limits. So it's all, so that doesn't count. Okay, this other road, okay, but that comes, unless your road comes out on a state highway and you got a lot of business back on that road, it's really, doesn't really pay you to go into a, $2,000, engineering estimate before you even, because you're like, well, you're going to get shot down anyway. So.
And to me, this is one of them deal, if you had a major sawmill on a dead end road off a state highway.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You could build that road up, make it bulletproof. Yep. Everybody's happy. But enterprise is a perfect example. So every day they're coming to that log truck. If they're good enough, I have to write them a permit to haul out there. So we're putting 2 county roads or 2 town roads or whatever it is at risk, with a heavy load. So careful what you wish for. I'm not saying we have multiple roads that would qualify, I think, but most of them have sawmill traffic on them. And I'm not 100% sure the owners of the sawmills are going to be volunteering any financial information.
Nope.
Like you could go to Organic Valley and say, hey, I'm sure they'd hand you the documentation and be good to go. I don't see the sawmill owners doing that.
Even the big dairies and stuff are going to be very reluctant to share their information because that's one thing they said was important is that if they share their information and you go through an engineering firm, their information does not become public until it's accepted. And then all their financial information, anybody can go look it up. And, so it's probably not going to happen.
I don't see a lot of it around here, maybe in a metropolized area. It'd be a good thing, but could be wrong. Okay, statewide, April 15th through the 19th is National Work Zone Awareness Week. We do this every year. We fill out Kayla will make a thing like this that says Vernon County, and there's a little resolution or whatever you want to call it that I'll sign. When's the next county board?
Next Thursday.
So we can get it on the agenda at the county. I mean, we've done it before where we don't get it in time for the county board. So we do it from the highway/infrastructure committee. Nothing comes of it. Just we log in and say, hey, Vernon County is doing National Work Zone Awareness Week. So if you folks are a fan of that, I need a motion on that and I'll take it to county board.
Motion to move forward with your
Work Zone
All,
Awareness Week.
second.
Charlie, or all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Kayla did some copies. Here's what the driveway ordinance would look like. And this would have to go to county board as well. And if we're going to have an application like this, we would set a fee with that. If you so choose, you don't have to do a fee. But basically, it's right now we have a driveway policy where they call and we come and look at it and we give them approval. We talked about because of the issues with some of the driveways being installed incorrectly, that possibly we'd do it. Recommendation of everybody I talked to is stay away from that. The counties that are doing it are probably regretting it a little bit. And then if we install it, we're liable for it. But this here would give us a little more information in our driveway policy. And if you want to, and I said, it doesn't matter to me, if you want to associate a fee with it, because the trend now is for multiple driveways. People want two, and if they have a place of business, they want two on certain drives. So we're really right away with driveways. Seems to be the trend right now. So it's up to you folks how we'd like to proceed.
On the back, it says application fee of $150. Is that?
That's Richland County's number. We put that in there just because our neighbor does it. We don't have to charge 150.
But that would meet your expenses.
Yeah, our expenses are minimal. I mean, 150 is plenty, but it also puts enough cost associated with it where they're not putting 3 and 4 driveways in for one property. That's if they got a place where they don't have to put culverts in, they'll have 3, 4 in a business place. We'd help eliminate that.
Is there any room for, like, if they can't meet that standard for a waiver, where do they get that, or is it non?
The counties I've talked to, they give the permit. I can't not give them a permit. You have the requirements that they meet. If they do not meet that requirement per se on, degree of slope of the driveway, coming off a bluff or something like that, some counties have them sign a thing, that they sign off and say, hey, I'm letting you put your driveway here. Realize that driveway is too steep for a fire truck to get up. Sign here. I'd have to work with Nikki on that to get something in place. Some counties don't.
I was just looking at that 90-degree angle, would probably be the one that would get violated.
On a steep slope, that's impossible.
Yeah.
And that's what they recommend. There's always, and I say we didn't put that in there because this is just for looking at, but we can put whatever amendments in there that we want.
And this is like the perfect driveway.
Yep. This is the one that you don't see very many of.
Yeah.
It's flat, it's straight. You can see both directions. Nobody wants a driveway there anymore.
Bill, do you have many people putting like concrete driveways? I know this came up in La Crosse County a few years ago.
A few.
Changed there.
A few. And the way we do it now is the existing driveways. We break the news to them gently if we're doing a construction project that we're going to tear out X number of feet because it's our right of way. They did not get a permit for a concrete driveway. So, match your new concrete into our existing driveway. We did find one, believe it or not, where the person actually did get a permit for a concrete driveway and it was specified in there. And my predecessor did not write it in there that it was going to be their cost. So they paid for all the materials. We did the work and built their approach for them. But there should be something in there about that as well. Because that's getting to be a trend, especially on driveways that are sketchy. People are doing the concrete approaches.
Yeah. Yeah, La Crosse County a couple of years ago actually stopped allowing driveway permits for concrete, and it was a whole thing. That's why.
Yeah. Because if they
Outside of the right of way though, it's.
right.
Well, yeah, outside of the right of way, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. And then we recommend that they do blacktop. Then when we're paving the road, they tip the wing out of the paver. They put a transition in there. But the last project we did a couple of years ago, we're going to have a 3 driveways that are concrete that they're going to have issues to them. And when we did our first coat on it last year, they come and complain that you didn't have a permit to put concrete on the right of way. So I'm sorry, we can't help you. Another Christmas card I don't get. I did say this is for the basic format, and we can do some addendums if people want to think about it a little bit. I mean, this isn't my God, we got to do it today or else.
But this is a place to start.
This is a place to start.
It could be adjusted.
Yeah.
You want to bring this to the county board is what you,
When we get all said and done, we'll have to.
okay.
When we get the final version, and I haven't brought Nikki on it yet, but we need to write some language as far as concrete maintenance of it, within the right of way. Because we get that quite a bit. You do too at the towns. You get the heavy snow, you're pushing back with a grader. You hook the end of the culvert. They call you, say, hey, you messed up my culvert. When you're going to put the new one in? My go-to response is, your culvert's on my right of way. It shouldn't have been there. We'll work with you, but we're not working for you type deal. So.
Do you need action on this then? Just
No, don't have to be.
Okay.
Like I say, this was for preliminary. If you wanted to vote on it as is, I'm fine with that. If not, I will tweak and get Nikki involved, bring back for the next time.
I think that sounds like a good idea. Just
Yeah, it's hard to prove when it's not
Yeah.
finished products.
Oh, I'm good with that. It was just for review. All right. I brought the master sheet of the
there was
the bills. It's somewhere in the pile. Here's the list of our bills. Total $153,023.35. Nothing outstanding. Pretty much standard. No real big ones. Winter obviously has been pretty good to us so far. So right now we're setting fine. But April isn't done yet, so I don't want to shoot my mouth off too much. The triaxle that we were going to have the equipment specs for you today, the specs that we normally write, we found a glitch, so we changed them. So I didn't get them bid this time. We actually got a guy coming down today to talk. It's just a different scabbed axle distances and what pieces of equipment we can put in there. We're looking at a different type of brine tank. So maybe we'll have it next month. Our truck got delayed, so not a big deal. The county SS project, our STP project, bids come back on that. $600,000 over, which we anticipated. I didn't anticipate 600 grand, but dangerously close. We are doing a change management request with the state to get more of the state's DOT share, federal share up on that. More is to come on that. The sander shed, the engineer has not got back to me with a design to see what potentially it could cost. Not losing any sleep over that. But more information when that comes. If you remember right, last fall, we broke the boom on our excavator, our Hyundai, which I considered a structural flaw from the factory. We went through that process. Basically, the manufacturer is going to somewhere in that 60 to 70% range, going to stand for the brake. We got the new boom coming. The machine's up to St. Joe's. It's quite a process to change it out. We're waiting patiently for that to come in. The boom mower, I said I'd give you some idea what that was going to cost. Off a Sourcewell, 130 horse tractor, size to the right kind of long arm, 25-foot long reach boom mower. You're talking 250, 260,000. I got a meeting sometime next week. Being as how we have our excavator up to St. Joe right now, we're going to look at the possibility of putting a brush head on that. We tried it with a used unit. None of the pins line up. It just turned into be a nightmare. That would be substantially cheaper than 250,000 for a shiny new one. To put a different type head on there and put it on the excavator when we get that fixed. So I hopefully will have more information on that. Obviously, this is for next year's budget, but they're going to do the run the flow numbers and stuff for us with the excavator that we have up there, and give me an idea of what that would potentially cost. I think that's about it.
Any questions for Phil or
Yeah.
take a 5-minute break?
You approved the bridging.
Yeah. we did, yeah, we just hold on.
Yeah, we did it.
Paul, motion, Charlie,
Oh.
second.
Oh, yep. I was pretty much on all of them today.
Who gets this? So Cassie.
Oh, man. You sure that she does not want that?
Your DM sheets, your file.
Oh, thanks.
Whatever I can do to help.
Said finance. He goes, okay, Cassie.
Yeah, it is. It's me. I can't wait. Yep, there's a. You unmute us now.
Don't tell your wife where they came from. She'll snake me as you drive by one day. Janitor's gonna be.
You drop some too?
Bill said no food on the board. We're really listening.
Yeah, so I know food on the new carpet theory, but
It'll grind in over time.
Yeah.
I'm glad I passed it down.
I guess Matt just left, didn't he? So he's not coming back. Well, Casey can talk. I can't yet.
Okay. So department update, I don't have a whole lot.
Do you want me to share Brian's update while you're doing that?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you would, that'd be good. There's 3.
I did just email this out to the board as well. I had asked Brian Kent from SEH to provide an update as far as what we're looking at for timeline here. So he said the next step is to formally respond to the DNR's comments, including our discussions, correspondence, and meetings since the notice of incompleteness was issued. This will include responses to the most straightforward issues and will include a proposed plan to address their questions related to additional investigation and well installation. I just met with the team and they are shooting to have a comprehensive draft response to me by the end of next week. I would anticipate the response to the DNR would be submitted by the end of March. Once the DNR reviews, it may include further negotiation as to what is necessary to meet the request for additional investigation. Once we have consensus on additional investigation and documentation expectations, we can provide a detailed cost estimate for the additional work. The biggest struggle we are currently trying to reconcile is proposing additional investigation that will have value. We are confident of what the extensive subsurface investigative data shows, but are trying to balance between repackaging or communicating it such as the DNR can be assured with some additional work that can be completed. I emailed that to you too, so you don't have to spit it back out verbatim.
Okay, and I did not print my voucher report, but I did just send it to you guys in your email. Nothing too crazy out of the ordinary for like February through today. Short Elliott Hendrickson, we did pay them $19,216. That was for wrap-up feasibility and then beginning of the plan of operations. City of Sparta for leachate disposal, about $33.51. Miller Bradford was $3,500. And Hank Welding Repair, $3,300. Everything else is under $1,000, and they're all pretty standard, like Vernon Electric, Vernon Com, River Valley Media for posting, DeBush Truck for service. That stuff. And I did email it to you, so. And it's not very pretty formatted because I just typed it.
So was that our first payment to SEH then for the plan of operations?
I think we had some of it prior to this payment, yeah. Because we got the approval in October, so they started working on stuff.
Back to where you started, just a clarification. So it's not a no from the DNR, right? We're proceeding as if, as long as we fall in compliance with the DNR, correct?
So
Satisfy their incompleteness report.
Yeah.
Because
So
the
what-
perception of the public is that the DNR says no to moving forward. So that's the, yeah.
The notice of incompletion is not a no. It is a, hey, we're missing this information. We want this information. That's where we're at.
There's a misconception in the public that because that it's just the DNR is no, so why are you continuing to proceed forward? We haven't received a no from the DNR,
No.
correct?
Correct.
That's the,
Yes.
yes, the burden of proof is on us to provide the information that, that they're saying we're missing. So that's the next step. So that's what SEH is working on. They will submit an addendum to the feasibility.
your makes sense there. It's just, the questions from the public is, well, I read the incompleteness report and the DNR says no. That you
It's a matter
shouldn't
of
proceed
opinion.
forward. So just a clarification on that for the public.
And that's what the the presenters at the last board meeting, you know, when it gets that far, she never had one not go all the way through.
Thanks.
And I did send you guys the same stuff that I just handed out, the revenue expenditure guideline. This is the new vision report, finance department. And then the last page is the material volume report. If you guys have, I believe I sent all that out on the first. I don't think I included you, sorry. You want it?
I do. Yeah. Thank you.
I didn't notice it till yesterday when you sent out one of those.
Oh, the whole packet thing?
Yeah, the entire packet of stuff I sent out in March.
Should I just send it to you?
That was my last thing I did on Friday before I ran out there.
Any questions on the financial report?
So the budget numbers will be added here or what?
The budget numbers, that is all added in the finance department. That I don't put any of the information into
Right.
this.
Because it's without. And then encumbered is just money that's spoken for but not yet spent. Is that what that line is for? Encumbered?
I'm not sure what encumbered is. Is that the alterations to a revised budget, maybe? Or to the,
I don't have an answer on that.
I guess I've never see that how much that. It's always been zeros.
Well, it's just. And that would be the normal is if you have money that's.
Yeah.
We'll see on the last column, it says remaining balance. So that would be the budget versus actual. So like your second to last column, the year-to-date posted, that's why it's showing like a negative of everything because there's no budget numbers in there. That would be the remaining balance of what was budgeted. That,
Right,
yeah.
right. No, I understand.
Yeah.
Just without all completed, it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, and that's.
Something I just found out a couple days ago
Oh,
that our 2024, budget, I had not put into new vision yet.
it's hard to read if you don't.
If you would like, I can send you a follow-up report of what our budget, our approved budget for 24 is.
So MTD is monthly today?
Yep, month to date. That's what was expended.
That's just in the month of,
It would be February. This
okay.
was it says January through February, but the month to date is February. And then year to date would be the January and February numbers.
But if it's just February, then how is it year to date in numbers? Like for repairs and maintenance, there was nothing in January?
In January, a lot of stuff gets backdated. A lot of my bills that I receive in January get backdated.
So some of the others are double.
That's why like January, February, I'm pretty sure I brought you guys estimated end of year 23 numbers because there's really not a lot to give you in January.
So with the new accounting systems and stuff, this is kind of what we should be getting, and we should learn how to read these instead of the way that you used to have it so nice that you can just go.
If you would like, I can go back to that prior reporting.
I was going to say she could produce that fairly easily. I don't want to speak for you, but this is a new vision report with our new, when we do implement Tyler, the reports will look a lot better than
Okay.
this. Yeah. This looks a little yucky right now because the 2024 budget wasn't put into new vision yet.
Oh, okay.
So normally you would have your
So that's
budget
what I'm saying
numbers
is that-
there
All right.
compared to,
All right.
Without-
but it's still not a great report.
Well,
If you guys would like, I can reformat this to the previous reports you guys were receiving. I just was prior was using my numbers and this was
But then you would have the up-to-date numbers that you would be using, the up-to-date numbers that weren't available before.
We'll use these numbers that are in New Vision.
Okay,
Because the prior numbers I was giving you guys were what's through my office, but between my office and the finance department, it has been lagging 2 to 3 months behind. So I was trying to give you guys my numbers that were accurate and up to date. So you guys weren't making decisions on numbers that were 2 to 3 months behind, but that seemed to create a lot of confusion as to what numbers you guys are receiving.
Yeah.
So in full transparency here, are the reports from New Vision.
this might be 2 or 3 months behind then is what you're saying.
Right now, revenue from February is not in here
Okay.
because I'll be receiving that.
Are there any questions or state of confusion?
Well, when things aren't in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys want, I can send you a report with, I can redo this and put what was approved for my budget and send it to you guys. But this was just printed out of Newsy, and I guess I wasn't aware that they were.
But in the
printing
big
it.
picture, then you're kind of on track for where you want to be.
Yeah, for where we're at for budget wise, what we had
I
budgeted
guess that's
this
the
year.
bottom line.
Yeah, that's January looks pretty good for end of December as far as
For volume,
for volume. No, let me read that backwards one. Yeah, it's up. It's February looks good. The other two.
January's low, February's up.
and that's volumes. It's pretty typical as you see, like how January, February, even December and March kind of dip as far as volume because of the weather. Holiday season, not everybody's building, buying.
What was the spike in October? Any?
The spike in October? I think we had a lot of derelict power material coming in.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so
That newest implosion, you get anything from them or?
But I don't know at all. We did have a rejected load last week from there. It was, staff told me it was like 3 to 4 foot metal, like pilings that were full of concrete. We can't do anything with that in the landfill. There's no, we can't operate at that. And they were multiple feet long. So that load was rejected, and that is per our one policy that was approved to the committee. Anything over, can't remember what the policy. It was approved through the infrastructure committee, a certain diameter and a certain length, because that creates potential issues with equipment, like rebar and stuff. Anything over a certain foot, we have in that policy that we can reject it or remove it at the hauler and build a hauler for that.
okay. Like we're down to the possible closed session again.
The solid waste materials review.
Okay.
This was the review of all the materials that was sent over, all the stuff that I brought to the last meeting, all the contracts from other municipalities. This is the review of that.
Oh, okay.
That was.
You've got the email summary from a couple days ago, so I'm here for questions.
I did print a couple copies of that too. That's in your deck. I gave you my computers.
And I just do not understand how these other counties can operate the way they operate and we can't. I mean, that's the bottom line for me. I mean, and why haven't
What
they
are
been
your
sued?
thoughts? What are your thoughts on the questions I posed there?
I mean, we got to get the answers to them is what,
Okay, so then I think that the committee's next steps would be determine who's doing that fact gathering, that investigation I refer to it as. Because I got to get those facts to be able to answer that part.
I don't know.
Isn't it part of this a clarification on a definition of what our landfill is?
Part of it. Mhm.
Well, why has that not been, did Gail have that in writing from the DNR? So here we are again, we're going around and around. This was supposedly we are compliant within the DNR standard. We meet whatever requirement for a facility. Why is that definition not?
That's
In
not
our
in
language.
question, I don't think. That we're a resource recovery facility. That's not in question.
Isn't that part of why we couldn't enforce?
That is part of why we can't enforce some of the things right.
What if we meet the definition, then we can. So what if,
There's we are not the necessary kind of resource recovery facility for flow control, which DNR has confirmed. I don't think that's an issue or a question right now. But then the question that Lauren has posed is he knows other counties are effecting some of these agreements that I have said that I would have concern with us winning in court if such analogous agreements were acted upon here. So then Lauren's follow-up question to that was, well, how can they do it? And that's in regards to the materials I reviewed. You guys got the PDF, right, with the various comments inserted, and then the summary email that summarizes the 50 plus pages of review. And there I'd indicated, if I don't have those facts and that background from any of those examples, I'm not able to opine whether or not they are acting in a way that I would find lawful or likely to be determined by a court to be lawful if it were challenged. And I just can't opine on some of that as explained in the PDF without having those facts. So if you guys want to pay the lawyer to the investigator, I can do that, but I wanted to clarify that's where we are.
I did a little investigating. Lauren Oldenburg's office, talked to whoever his people are. The answer that come back there that says we are absolutely 100% able to contract.
We are.
But as far as the flow control, depending upon if we had a flow control ordinance, which we do.
I mean, you've already heard my advice, so I am not the dictator. Please feel absolutely free. You have to understand that. You don't have to follow my advice. Go the route that you wish to go. You've just heard my advice, and that's all I care about. I'm not the dictator. Do flow control if you wish, truly.
Well, I don't think we even wish to do flow control. We just
do the agreements if you wish. I mean, I'm not the one who is the determining factor there. I don't get to say yes or no. I get to say whether or not I think it's a good idea, whether or not I advise you to do it, and why or why not. So I've done my job, and I am absolutely happy to step back now, and you guys carry on with the agreements you're wishing and pushing to enter. Truly, have at it.
Anybody else have any questions on it? And who would we get to?
Alice Ann has her hand up.
Alice Ann?
Nikki, I'm just wondering, maybe you already sent it to me, and if I did, I apologize. Can I get sent the PDF that you were referring to?
Yeah, I don't think, Alice Ann, you have received it as a Gen Gov committee member. I did indicate at that last Gen Gov meeting that I'd be happy to share to anyone who's requested. You are right now the first person who's asked me for a copy, and I'm glad you are asking. I will forward it to you.
Yeah, thank you, because I think this is where our committees kind of weave a little bit, so I just want to be informed. And yeah. I had heard, and I did mention this at Gen Gov, Lauren, you keep talking about Adams County. Were you able to provide Nikki with anything to review from them?
I mean, just look at their website. That's.
Well, and I think.
Well, I mean, whatever.
I think this is what Nikki's getting at. Like, if you wanted further investigation to do those sorts of things, to look at Adams County, like go on their website, review their agreements, doing that investigatory work. Do we still want to task that to our corp counsel at her current rate, or do you want to task that to someone internally? Correct me if I'm wrong.
You are spot on. That's
the question that way.
But it seems
And make-
unfair to you guys for me to bill at a Juris Doctorate hourly rate when it
No,
doesn't take.
I hear that. I totally agree with that. I was just simply like, there were some contracts that were provided to you, Nikki, just to do a peripheral review, which is, I think is what the PDF I'll receive. I just wondered if like whatever Adams County's contract is or agreement with haulers is, if that was actually presented. I'm not suggesting corp counsel.
It was not.
Okay. And Lauren, we talked about it at Gen Gov. Do you have that document?
No, I don't have that document.
Couldn't Stacy be looking into this? She's a department head. There's other landfills that apparently have this. Why can't she reach out to them and find those agreements?
Go ahead, Stacy.
I have agreements. Those were what was sent over. I do have one from Adams County. I don't know why that wasn't included in that listing, but I do have one from Adams County. And if I'm going to do the investigative work for this, I would like a list of what information is needed. So I make sure that I'm providing the full information that is needed to make that decision or determination.
And you could look, the answers would be within both my memo or PDF with the comments, Stacy. So look there for any info I would need to opine further on the documents you shared with me. And then Lauren, instruct Stacy on whatever you've seen in Adams County that you would ask me to review.
I mean, I've seen all kinds of stuff with the United States Supreme Court had rulings on
The case law.
the case law.
I'm privy to the case law. That's already been included in my analysis and memos to date. But the references to any Wisconsin, other similarly situated, they're doing it, why can't we? That's the info that I would need you to provide that you've alluded to as far as, I think specifically, namely Adams County, but there may be others that you've thought of and are thinking of when you say others do it, why can't we? So that information is what would need to be provided to.
Does Adams have their own landfill, or are they sending it to somewhere else?
Adams County has their own landfill. They operate their own recycling. They haul their own garbage.
And they rent dumpsters. And they advertise it as we do it cheaper than the competitor. You know, how do you verify things that you know that are true that aren't written down? I mean, how do you verify that? I mean,
Like what? Give me an example of what you mean.
Okay, 3 lawyers showed up at Adams County and tried to stop them from doing what they were doing. They say, we're doing it completely legal. So they continued doing it the way they were doing it, and they never seen lawyers again.
Okay,
So how do you verify that?
you can't.
You can't, right?
And what does that actually mean, and how, if at all, should our county rely upon that information would be my,
That means that the lawyers were,
it doesn't.
Well,
It doesn't.
the assumption is that they are, but that doesn't mean they are. They just chose not.
That is not a finding
Not to
of
do anything.
lawful action by the county at all. It tells me that there hasn't been anybody with the deep pockets and the motivation otherwise to push back to date on it. Now, whether or not that's because the way this county is acting is lawful and on the up and up, I don't know.
so what I'm saying is, how do you find that out? I mean, you would think
You
that if they
can't
had.
without
if they had-
litigation is the issue. So finding out if they're acting lawfully, that is a question for the courts that to date has not been addressed or answered. So then you're left with any attorney doing their job of taking those facts, applying it to the law, and telling what are the odds of this being found to be lawful in the eyes of a court? And that's that legal opinion and advice that any attorney is going to give. They're going to take the facts, apply it to the law, and tell you what are the prospects that you're going to win if this is challenged in court. And I'm guessing, I don't have all the facts for Adams County, but I could absolutely see that an attorney would tell them, you may or may not win with your fact situation here. But it's yet to be vetted or determined, to my understanding. I certainly haven't seen the case law that would reflect litigation and an ultimate finding of lawfulness.
Well, we'll go over the things and see if we can shore it up, I guess is the words, I mean, the statutes say that we are giving, and we can't get rid of the responsibility of recycling. We have that forever. So in exchange for making the municipalities responsible for garbage, they gave us statutorily that we can compete with private business. That's the only place that government can compete with private business is in the garbage. Because.
But you're right, that there is a finding that, because you're absolutely right, it's just not the only place. You can't say that. It's limited. It's very limited to when.
The article that I read said it was the only place, though. They didn't mention any other places, and I can't offhand think of.
Well, medical care is one.
Okay.
However, you're not wrong, though, that your overall point.
I can see the medical care, Vernon, county supported hospitals.
But you're spot on, Lauren, that we are permitted to engage in the market because we're tasked with providing ultimately for a place to put our garbage, right? In a nutshell. So that's true, but that doesn't mean that there aren't firm restrictions and guidelines on that, which is exactly why Stacy's job is as important as it is to manage a business that is a government enterprise. And it's why it's got all the unique laws and case law around it. You got to be careful because there's still antitrust that is absolutely relevant to this equation. I would be very reticent to do anything like Adams County's doing as far as how vocal they are with how they're the best against their competitors. That's a precarious state to be in.
But would they be that vocal if they weren't right?
Oh, yeah, they could be.
I mean,
they absolutely
and
could
being
be.
that vocal, wouldn't some company have taken them on already?
Maybe, and you could absolutely act it with that basis as your support. I wouldn't advise you to. I think it's incredibly risky, but you can do that as supervisor. You can say, I hear Corp Counsel, but I see these other counties doing it and they haven't been sued, and surely they would have been by now. So based on that lack of lawsuits, let's do it. That's what I'm hearing you say, and that's okay if you're comfortable with that. It goes to what I alluded to, or actually expressly stated in my email insofar as the risk tolerance, which is a conversation that the county should be having here. You're assuming risk, right? And that there is going to be litigation and that you may or may not win. Those are the risks you're assuming. So that's a risk tolerance conversation that's part of policy definition for you guys as the elected officials to me. I'm not saying it's 100% that you would lose in court. I'm saying that it appears more likely than not, and I sure as hell wouldn't go there because it's risky, very risky. My risk tolerance is lower than what yours may be, though, truly. And you can, like, the attorney's going to have that risk tolerance factor. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want to lose in court against what could be deep pockets. I would not want that. But you guys can assume that risk and do that as long as you're doing it knowingly and intelligently.
Okay, any further discussion on that one?
Just thinking of a different avenue. If county wants to provide a service, could they request the municipalities to put out a proposal, put out to everybody, and they came in low and got it? Would that fit the need?
Indirect flow control can be relevant to such.
Well, but we're not.
And I'm not sure. Yeah, tell me more about what you're.
No, but I'm saying, say you throw it out to the township and says, we're requesting that you put out a request for proposal. This is what you want for your garbage or recycling. Let's just say it's stick to recycling to keep it simpler. And Stacy says it's going to cost us so much to do it. Somebody else says it's going to cost us this much. And then the county gets the bid. Doesn't that eliminate? I mean,
Sure.
so it's,
That's just fair competition in the
Right.
market, which we're absolutely permitted to do, Charlie. You're right.
right, but I mean, that eliminates the county initiating it. They're just
It
one of
does.
the bidders that does the same thing.
It does.
And the municipality doesn't have to take high bid, doesn't have to take low bid. They can take what they think is most beneficial.
And your summary there is spot on with what the courts would expect to see with government
Right.
in the market.
But I'm just, what we're, end game might not be, it's just our approach and how we're doing it might be our issue.
That's part of it. And then, whether or not you can have that hammer of getting what you want in the end, which you can't have when you're making it that proposal route that you're,
Right.
yeah. But absolutely, that's a way to do it.
But again, it's the same thing as what we were talking about the MOUs before. If the people want to do that,
Yeah,
then they'll accept your
And
bid.
should, and should be encouraged.
I mean, it's just another way of looking at it that I just thought of, so
Yeah,
I throw it out there.
yeah. That's right, though.
Well, I guess more to come.
Would you like to task Stacy with that further investigatory work that we were just discussing?
Like for Adams County, I would want to know, in addition to seeing the contract, which Stacy emailed to all of us just a moment ago, details including what type of facility they have or facilities they have.
Well, and the examples like Brown and all that, are they the same kind of facility?
And I don't have that
I
info.
reached out to Brown County this morning to find out, because they list that their resource recovery facility, what that is. Like, what are you doing to be a resource recovery facility? Because they're not a waste to energy facility. The only other one is, I believe,
Well,
in Barron.
I just want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
Exactly.
because Without knowing what our base is.
And I
So-
want to know if the state, what the state considers them, not just what they're self-purporting to be too.
Well, I believe there's a licensing with the DNR to be considered a resource recovery facility.
That's what I'm getting at exactly, Stacy.
But that would be, because otherwise we don't know if we're comparing the same thing. So to debate
100%.
what one is doing and the other makes no sense. It's
That's
just
right.
a waste of time until we know that we're comparing the same thing.
Got it.
All right today.
It must have been those ladies.
Beanie's breakfast does it every time.
That's why I was curious what definition we fall under, if we are
We have
comparable to.
like the landfill licensing, we have the material recovery facility licensing, and we did have until this year a solid waste processing license, because prior to 2016, the county bailed all of the garbage. So that is also something I've reached out for. What do we need to be a resource recovery facility? Like, you don't have to incinerate garbage to do that, but maybe if we added additional sorting techniques, which might also fix the double-edged sword of the town host agreement wanting us to keep as much out of the landfill as possible, maybe two birds, one stone.
And maybe that's a simple way to do it. Make sure we meet the definition.
Right.
So we can do other things.
As to how much that entails, we'll see.
Right.
We'll
Right.
wait back from
But
them.
let's start simple and go up. That makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, gather information. I don't think we need to make a motion on that, do we?
No, I'm happy to receive additional info, and then what I can do with that is provide responses, update to my.
And I'd be curious what it is to upgrade to what we're talking about. Become a resource recovery, which then opens up flow control statutorily. Because if it's not a huge increase to do that, that might be the simple way all the way around. That'll eliminate a lot of issues.
Now we're gonna make sure we beat Charlie before he comes to meetings, I guess.
I can take care of that.
Okay.
My size without eating.
Possible closed session, the chair may entertain a motion to enter into a closed session pursuant Wisconsin statute 1985, conferring with legal counsel for governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely to become involved. And Wisconsin statute 1985 1E, deliberating or negotiating.
Read it all.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. The reason is if we were going to go into closed, yes, but as you know, the goal is always to keep things open and transparent to the public. We were able to have that conversation without going into closed. And I think we've covered everything unless there's something I'm missing that is wanting to be discussed in closed, which I'll stop talking.
Not on this one, but possibly on the host agreement.
Where is the host agreement on this? I don't even see it.
It's underneath it. It's like,
Then I interrupted you unnecessarily. I'm sorry. I thought that was part of the solid waste. You get to keep reading it, Lauren.
Statute 1985 1E, deliberating and negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session to review and discuss the proposed terms presented by the town host committee and review 2023 solid waste hauler agreement with Southwest Sanitation LLC. Roll call vote if motion is not unanimous.
Do you want to start with the hauler agreement and
So we need a motion.
make you feel like we can have that conversation in open session or?
No, I had
Okay.
misread. and
Okay.
thought that
Just wanted to make
was
sure.
Part of the.
Yeah, no, we're good then.
We're good.
We need a motion.
Need a motion to go into closed session?
Motion to go into closed session.
Motion by Paul, second by Charlie. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. It's unanimous. Kyle is still gone?
Oh, yeah. He never came back. He did text me and say like he's just been in and out like can't. Things aren't going well for him.